when I led the applause. Under the pulsing lights of the private karaoke room, my girlfriend kissed her ex-boyfriend while our old college friends cheered them on. The room fell silent. Every eye was on me, waiting for the punchline to their joke. So I gave them one. I smiled, raised my hands, and started clapping. Brilliant. Uncle. I let the words hang in the stunned silence. As a parting gift, I've decided to transfer the title of the condo I bought in her name last year. It's all yours now, buddy. Congratulations on getting back together. You were meant for each other. The silence that followed was even deeper. The looks on my girlfriend's and her ex's faces were a kaleidoscope of shock and horror. Kiss, kiss, kiss. The chant had started moments before, a drunken chorus fueled by cheap booze and simmering hormones. In the center of the circle were my girlfriend, Chloe, and her college ex, Connor Prescott. Connor held his whiskey, his eyes hazy with a familiar, predatory glint. One arm was already wrapped possessively around Chloe's waist. He'd been the big man on campus back at the University of Florida, student body president, trust fund kid, and Chloe's first love, a fact she'd never let me forget. And me? I was Ethan Stone, the guy who'd spent college buried in the library or working side hustles to make rent. A nobody. Every gaze in the room swung between them and me like a searchlight, full of malicious glee. Ethan, don't be so uptight. A girl named Brittany, Connor's #1 fan, called out with a smirk. We're just having fun. It's a game. Yeah, man, be a good sport. Chloe and Connor were the it couple. What's a little joke between old friends? I didn't say a word. I just watched Chloe. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes darting everywhere, but at me. She wasn't pushing Connor's hand away. Her body language screamed surrender. She couldn't even look at me. In that moment, something deep inside me cracked. Chloe and I had been together for 3 years. In those 3 years, I'd gone from a broke kid with nothing to my name to someone who had a foothold in Miami, one of the most cutthroat cities in the country. I had given her everything. When she wanted a designer bag, I worked overtime for a month to buy it. When she said she wanted a home, I drained my savings, borrowed from everyone I knew, and scraped together the down payment for a bayfront condo. I put only her name on the deed. I thought my devotion would earn her loyalty. I thought we were about to get married. Turns out, I was the only one who thought that. The second Connor walked back into her life, all my hard work became a punchline. As Connor's lips drew closer, Chloe put up a token resistance before closing her eyes, ready. The room held its breath. Just as their lips were about to touch, I stood up. Every head snapped in my direction. They were expecting a scene, a jealous rage, a flipped table, the pathetic drama of a spurned lover. Even Connor paused, a triumphant smirk playing on his lips. But I smiled. I adjusted the lapels of my blazer, raised my hands, and began to clap, a sharp, clean sound that cut through the noise. Clap, clap, clap. Everyone stared, dumbfounded. Bravo, I said, my smile as bright and unforgiving as the August sun. Seriously, that was a hell of a performance. A real tearjerker. Old flames rekindled. I looked at Chloe, whose face was rapidly losing its color, and at the stunned expression on Connor's. I raised my voice. Since we're all in such a celebratory mood, I don't want to be a buzzkill. So, to celebrate you two lovebirds finally getting your happy ending, and as a little parting gift from me to Ms. Chloe here, I have an announcement. I paused, enjoying the way everyone leaned in. Last year, I bought Chloe a condo at the Waterfront Reserve. The deed's in her name. I'm sure you've all heard about it. A few envious glares shot through the room. The Waterfront Reserve was prime Miami real estate, where apartments started in the 7 figures. Chloe's expression softened slightly, probably thinking I was about to grovel. A flicker of greed crossed Connor's face. I scanned the room, my gaze finally landing on Connor's smug face. I spoke each word with chilling clarity. I've decided to start the paperwork today to transfer the title of that condo, free of charge to you, Mr. Connor Prescott. Congratulations. You not only won back the girl, you get a multi-million-dollar condo to go with her. Come on, everyone, a round of applause for the happy couple. Then I started clapping again, loud and enthusiastic. This time, the silence was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone looked frozen, their mouths hanging open. As for Chloe and Connor, their faces were a train wreck of emotions. Shock, confusion, a flash of avarice, followed by profound disbelief and a sliver of fear. Now, this was a performance. Ethan, are you crazy? What are you talking about? Chloe was the first to snap, her voice shrill and trembling. She finally shoved Connor away and stumbled toward me. Are you drunk? Stop making a scene. She reached for my arm, her eyes wild with panic. I gently but firmly brushed her hand away, my smile never wavering. I'm not crazy, and I'm not drunk. Every word is the gospel truth, and everyone here is a witness. I turned to Connor. His expression was a mess of greedy delight and a new, wary suspicion of me. Connor, my man, I said with a grin. A multi-million-dollar condo, move-in ready. The only question is, are you man enough to take it? My words detonated in the room. Holy SHD, is he for real? Ethan's a savage. The waterfront reserve? He's just giving it away? That's millions of dollars. Chloe hit the jackpot, gets her first love back and a free condo. Brittany was the first to recover, shoving a dazed Connor. Connor, what are you waiting for? Thank him. This is the best thing that's ever happened to you. Shaken from his stupor, Connor cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure, but he couldn't hide the raw greed in his eyes. Well, Ethan, if you're being so generous, it would be rude to refuse. He walked back to Chloe, pulling her into his arms again in a clear show of dominance. Chloe was always meant to be with me. As for the condo, let's just call it compensation for your time with her. Compensation. A nice way to put it. I sneered internally but kept my face a placid mask. Of course, a parting gift. But talk is cheap. To show my sincerity, and to give you both peace of mind, let's put it in writing right now. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a pen and a notepad. It was a habit from my work life, always being prepared. I never thought I'd use it for this. I scribbled on the page. Gift agreement. I, Ethan Stone, do voluntarily gift the property located at the Waterfront Reserve, Tower Suite 1801, currently held a nominee by Chloe Miller, to Mr. Connor Prescott, at no cost. Effective immediately. This document serves as proof of intent. I finished, blew on the ink, and held it out to them. Sign it. Once you sign, the condo is yours. Ethan Stone is a man of his word. Connor's breathing grew heavy as he stared at the paper. He snatched it from my hand as if afraid I'd change my mind and quickly scrawled his signature. He then proudly held it up for everyone to see. You all saw this. Black and white. Ethan, you'd better not be a sore loser and try to back out of this. I gave a thin smile. Don't worry, I'm more of a man than you'll ever be. Chloe stood beside them, her face a storm of conflicting emotions. She glanced at me, then at a beaming Connor, her lips parting as if to speak, but she said nothing. In her eyes, the sudden avarice for a fortune had already eclipsed any unease. She probably thought I was having a breakdown, that this was an impulsive act of a broken heart. She thought that tomorrow, after I'd sobered up, she could sweet-talk me into taking it all back. She thought she still had me wrapped around her finger. She was wrong. The moment she closed her eyes for Connor's kiss, she was dead to me. I took the agreement, now bearing Connor's signature, folded it carefully, and placed it in the inside pocket of my blazer. I picked up my briefcase and turned to leave. Ethan, where are you going? Chloe cried out behind me. I didn't look back. I just raised a hand in a dismissive wave, my voice carrying easily across the room. To get out of your way. After all, you two can move into your new home tonight. Oh, and by the way, I said, pausing at the door. I turned to face the room of stunned onlookers. Tonight's on me. Everyone eat, drink, have a good time. Call it my contribution to the happy couple. With that, I pulled the door open and walked out, not once looking back. Outside, the cool Miami night air hit my face, a welcome shock that cleared my head. I pulled out my iPhone, ignoring the barrage of calls and iMessages already lighting up the screen from Chloe. I dialed another number. A crisp, professional woman's voice answered immediately. Mr. Stone, good evening. Ms. Hayes, good evening, I said, leaning against the railing of the overpass, watching the river of headlights below. It's time. We're moving forward with the plan we discussed. There was a slight pause on the other end. Are you certain, Mr. Stone? There's no turning back from this. I looked across the bay at the glittering spire of the Waterfront Reserve, and a cold smile spread across my face. I'm certain. I spoke each word with precision. Notify their party. We'll meet at the title company's office tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharp. And also, send a copy of the nominee agreement, along with the official legal notice, to a Mr. Connor Prescott. Understood, Mr. Stone. I hung up and let out a long, slow breath. Chloe, Connor, did you really think I got to where I am today by acting on impulse? Did you think I was just some emotional fool? What you think is a multi-million-dollar prize is nothing but a gilded cage I've built just for you. The show is just getting started. Back in my hotel room, my phone was nearly dead from Chloe's frantic calls. I plugged it in and opened WhatsApp. 99 plus unread messages. I tapped her icon. The screen filled with a predictable mix of outrage and placation. Ethan, what the hell are you doing? Come back here right now. Are you drunk? Stop this. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. I know I messed up. I shouldn't have played that stupid game. They pressure me into it. That condo is mine. You can't just give it to someone else. The deed is an MY name. Ethan, after 3 years together, you can't do this to me. Just answer the phone. I laughed when I read the last few messages. There it was. Her true colors. The apologies and excuses were just the prelude to the real point. The condo is mine. 3 years of us. Worthless, next to a multi-million-dollar piece of real estate. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a clear photo of the gift agreement signed by Connor. I opened our old college alumni group chat and posted it. The chat, which had been quiet, exploded. Holy crap. He actually signed it. Ethan Stone is a legend. A man of his word. Connor just won the lottery. Instant millionaire. Brittany immediately jumped in with a string of laughing emojis. Some people would rather lose their home than lose face. Well, Chloe and Connor are ready to move in tomorrow. At Ethan Stone, thanks for the free drinks. Connor posted a smug face emoji with the caption, easy win. And Chloe? She went nuclear. She sent a long, rambling voice note, her voice cracking with sobs and rage. Ethan Stone, you son of a bitch. What right do you have to give MY condo to someone else? I'm going to sue you. You just wait. Watching the drama unfold, I turned off my phone, took a shower, and fell into the soft, king-sized bed. It was the most peaceful night's sleep I'd had in 3 years. The next morning, I was woken by a call from Ms. Hayes. Mr. Stone, the other party has received the legal notice. Ms. Miller has been calling my office nonstop. She's extremely agitated. Ms. Hayes' voice was, as always, impeccably calm. What's she saying? She insists the property was a personal gift from you and is therefore hers alone. She has also threatened to call the police if we harass her further. Excellent, I said, getting dressed. I walked to the window and watched the morning traffic flow below. And Connor? Any word from him? Mr. Prescott has been silent. I smiled. Don't worry. He's about to be more desperate than she is. After a leisurely breakfast at the hotel restaurant, I drove over to the waterfront reserve. My car was stopped at the security gate. Sir, I'm sorry, but without resident authorization, I can't let you in. Before I could respond, I saw Chloe and Connor walking out of the lobby. Chloe's eyes were red and puffy. She clearly hadn't slept. Connor, on the other hand, radiated smug entitlement, his arms slung around Chloe's shoulders like a trophy hunter. Ethan, what are you doing here? Connor challenged, spotting me. You're not welcome here anymore. This is Chloe's place, and it'll be mine soon enough. You should save yourself the embarrassment and leave. Chloe glared at me, her teeth clenched. Ethan, I can't believe how low you've sunk. Is this your way of trying to blackmail me? Well, it won't work. The condo is mine. No one is taking it from me. Watching them a united front of greed and indignation was so absurd I almost laughed. Who said anything about taking the condo? I said, getting out of my car and leaning against the door. I'm here to help you move. I gestured down the street, where a large moving truck with 2 men and a truck emblazoned on the side was slowly approaching. A man of your stature, Connor, surely wouldn't want my cheap stuff cluttering up your new place. I called some guys to clear it out, make room for you. The color drained from both their faces. Ethan, you wouldn't dare. Chloe shrieked. Everything in that condo is mine. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. You're saying the custom sofa, the Sub-Zero fridge, the 85-inch television, the bed, the closets, including the few hundred designer bags and shoes in the walk-in closet. You bought all of that. Chloe's face turned a shade of beet red. For the last 3 years, she'd been a full-time girlfriend with zero income. Every single item in that condo, from the $10,000 appliances down to the $10 toothbrush holder, was paid for by me. Well, you gave them to me, she sputtered. A gift of significant value can be revoked. A calm voice spoke from behind me. Ms. Hayes and her assistant had arrived. She adjusted her glasses and presented a document to Chloe. Ms. Miller, this is a comprehensive list of all personal property purchased by Mr. Stone within the residence, complete with receipts and payment records. According to the law, a donor may revoke a gift before the transfer of property rights is complete. Mr. Stone is now officially revoking the gift of these chattels. We have the right to remove every last one of them. Then Ms. Hayes turned to Connor and handed him a different file. Mr. Prescott, this is the official legal notice from my firm. Regarding the so-called gift agreement you signed last night, I must advise you on 2 points. First, while the property title is registered to Ms. Miller, the property was, in fact, purchased in its entirety by my client, Mr. Ethan Stone. We have irrefutable evidence of this, including a notarized nominee agreement signed by Ms. Miller herself, proving that she is merely the holder of the title in name only. The true beneficial owner is Mr. Stone. What? A nominee agreement? Chloe and Connor cried out in unison. Chloe's face went completely white. She stared at me, her eyes filled with a desperate, horrified disbelief. That's impossible. When did you? I looked at her, my voice flat. The day we signed the closing documents. You were too busy celebrating to read what you were signing, weren't you? That agreement was signed in triplicate. One for you, one for me, one for the notary's office. There's no denying it. It was the ultimate failsafe I had built for myself. When Chloe had whined that having her name on the deed was the only way she'd feel secure, I'd agreed. But I wasn't a fool. Business is war, and I never go into a battle unprepared. The same, it turned out, applied to love. I just never thought I'd have to use it. Connor's face was now even paler than Chloe's. His hand holding the legal notice trembled. Ms. Hayes ignored their shock and delivered the final, fatal blow. Second, and most importantly, the gift agreement you signed yesterday states, and I quote, I, Ethan Stone, do voluntarily gift the property, currently held in nominee by Chloe Miller, to Mr. Connor Prescott. Do you see? My client offered to gift you the beneficial ownership of the property. However, that is contingent on the ownership first being legally and indisputably transferred from the nominee, Ms. Miller, back to my client, Mr. Stone. Ms. Hayes paused, her eyes sharp as scalpels behind her glasses. As of this morning, the nominee, Ms. Miller, is refusing to cooperate with the transfer and is claiming the property as her own personal asset. This means the prerequisite for the gift has not been met. Therefore, Mr. Stone is formally notifying you, Mr. Prescott, that the gift agreement cannot be executed at this time due to a severe ownership dispute. Should you and Ms. Miller resolve this title issue, allowing the property to be returned to Mr. Stone, he would be more than happy to honor his promise and subsequently gift the condo to you. I never had any intention of giving the condo away. I just dug a hole, a deep, dark hole for them to jump into together, a hole that would make them turn on each other. I hadn't given Connor a condo. I'd given him the right to claim the condo. But to claim it, he had to get Chloe to admit she was just a nominee, to admit the condo was never hers. And if Chloe admitted that, she would lose everything. A woman who greedily believed a fortune was hers. A man so blinded by avarice he thought he could get a multi-million-dollar property for free. With one absurd agreement, I had shackled them together. The ball was in their court. Want the condo, Connor? Go convince your true love, Chloe, to give up her claim to a multi-million-dollar fortune. And you, Chloe? Are you willing to give up a life of luxury for the sake of your high school sweetheart? I watched as they instantly transformed from united front into suspicious adversaries. The pure, unfiltered joy I felt was intoxicating. Connor stared daggers at Chloe, his voice laced with fury and doubt. Chloe, is it true? Is there really a nominee agreement? Chloe was trembling, her lips quivering, unable to form a complete sentence. I don't know. I really don't know. I knew she was lying. I had explained it to her when she signed it, but she was so high on the idea of owning a luxury condo that the words went in one ear and out the other. Or maybe she'd had ulterior motives from the start, assuming the document was just meaningless paper. You don't know. Connor sneered. He wasn't stupid. He could see the guilt written all over her face. Great. Just great. The two of you ganged up to make a fool out of me. No, Connor, you have to believe me. Chloe cried, grabbing his arm. Connor shoved her away. Believe you? How can I believe you? Not unless you transfer the condo to me, right now. How am I supposed to do that? The deed is in my name. Ethan is the one lying to you. Chloe shrieked, finally breaking down and pointing a trembling finger at me. I folded my arms, watching their meltdown like a spectator at a play. Take your time, you two. I waved to the moving crew. All right, guys, let's get started. Take everything that belongs to me. And I mean everything. The movers, who had been waiting patiently, swarmed into the building. Chloe tried to block them, but was intercepted by Ms. Hayes' assistant. Ms. Miller, please remain calm. If you obstruct this process, we will be forced to involve the police. Soon, all the designer furniture, high-end appliances, and art I had so carefully selected were being carted out. Chloe's prized collection of limited edition handbags, shoes, and clothes were unceremoniously packed into large cardboard boxes and piled on the curb like trash. Chloe collapsed onto the ground, watching as the luxurious life she had built was dismantled and reduced to an empty shell in under 30 minutes. A desperate, animalistic wail escaped her lips. Connor stood nearby, watching her with cold detachment. There was no longer any trace of affection in his eyes, only cold, hard calculation. He knew that to get his hands on that condo, he first had to break Chloe. One show had ended, but a far more entertaining one was just beginning. In the days that followed, my world was blissfully quiet. Neither Chloe nor Connor bothered me. But my friend Leo, a college buddy I was still close with, kept me updated with reports from the front lines. Dude, your move was savage. Connor and Chloe are at each other's throats every day in that empty condo. The whole floor can hear them screaming. He's trying to force her to admit the agreement is real, so she'll sign the condo back to you, so he can collect his prize. She's refusing, insisting the condo is hers, and accusing him of only being with her for the money. I heard they got into a physical fight 2 nights ago. She scratched up his face. A neighbor called the cops. I read Leo's texts, a cold smile playing on my lips. This was exactly what I wanted. I didn't want an apology. I didn't want their regret. I wanted them to be consumed by their own greed and suspicion to tear each other apart. They're still making a scene in the alumni group chat, Leo sent, along with a screenshot. Brittany was still defending Connor. Ethan Stone is such a piece of work, playing games with everyone. He promised a condo and then pulled this crap. A few others agreed, but most had gone silent. Anyone with a brain could see that Chloe and Connor had brought this on themselves, especially after I revealed the existence of the nominee agreement. Connor was in the chat, playing the victim. I was a fool to trust a snake. You all better be careful who you call friend. Chloe hadn't posted anything. She was probably too ashamed to show her face. I replied to Leo, let them. The bigger the scene, the harder they'll fall. A week later, Ms. Hayes contacted me again. Mr. Stone, we have a new development. Mr. Prescott has contacted us unilaterally. He says he's willing to cooperate with us to persuade Ms. Miller to honor the nominee agreement. Oh, and what are his terms? I wasn't surprised in the slightest. He's requesting that, after you regain the title, you honor a new gift agreement and grant him 50% of the property's title as a fee for his services in flipping Ms. Miller. I almost laughed out loud. Connor had truly mastered the art of shamelessness. This wasn't flipping her. This was pure opportunism. Realizing he couldn't get the whole pie from me, he was now trying to team up with me to screw over Chloe. Ms. Hayes, what's your professional opinion? I asked. My advice is to accept his offer, she said, which caught me off guard. What? Mr. Stone, our primary objective is to recover the property. Ms. Miller is currently being uncooperative. While we would win in court, litigation is time-consuming and expensive. If Mr. Prescott can get her to capitulate from the inside, it's the most efficient and cost-effective path for us. As for the 50% stake, Ms. Hayes paused, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Contracts are static, Mr. Stone. People are not. We can draft the new gift agreement with a few interesting clauses. I understood immediately. Excellent. Do it. Draft the contract and make sure it's ironclad. Consider it done. 2 days later, I saw Connor in Ms. Hayes' office. He looked worn out, with dark circles under his eyes, but they glittered with a desperate, all-or-nothing ambition. He didn't even look at me, speaking directly to Ms. Hayes. Where's the contract? Let me see it. Ms. Hayes slid a prepared document across the table. Connor read it word by word, his eyes scanning for any trap. After a half-hour of scrutiny, which included a call to a lawyer friend, he finally looked satisfied. The contract was clear. If Connor could get Chloe to cooperate with the property transfer back to me within the month, I would, within 3 days of receiving the new title, transfer 50% of the property's ownership to Connor's name. The terms were straightforward, the responsibilities defined. It looked flawless. Fine, I'll sign, Connor said, picking up the pen. As he was about to sign, I spoke for the first time. Connor, can you really do this to Chloe? After all you two have been through. His hand paused. A cold smirk crossed his face. Can she do this to me? She knew about that nominee agreement and kept it from me, playing me for a fool. If you weren't still useful, I'd be done with her. A woman who would do anything for money doesn't deserve loyalty. He spoke with such self-righteous conviction, as if he were the real victim. It was pathetic. And what about you? Weren't you after her for the exact same reason, my condo? 2 dogs fighting over a bone. A perfect match. I said nothing more, simply nodding to Ms. Hayes to take the signed contract. Now, it was time to sit back and watch Connor's performance. Meanwhile, I had more important things to do. I had a nagging feeling that Connor's hostility at the reunion wasn't just about Chloe. There was a deeper jealousy in his eyes, a resentment that felt more personal than a simple rivalry. It bothered me. I called Leo. Leo, do me a favor. Dig into what Connor's been up to since graduation. I want to know everything. You got it. But why bother? He's just a clown at this point. Know your enemy, I said coolly. I have a feeling he won't go down this easily. Connor was surprisingly efficient. Or perhaps his lust for money had unlocked some hidden potential. Just 3 days later, Ms. Hayes called. Chloe had agreed to the transfer. On the appointed day, I saw Chloe again at the title company's office. She had lost a significant amount of weight, her skin was sallow, and her eyes were vacant. She looked like a flower trampled in a storm, all her vibrancy gone. When she saw me, her lips moved but no words came out. She just lowered her head and silently signed document after document. I noticed a faint, bluish bruise on her wrist. Connor stood behind her like a warden, watching her every move. When he looked at me, his eyes were filled with triumphant glee. He truly believed he was the ultimate winner of this war, having shed the problem of Chloe while securing half of a multi-million-dollar condo. The closing was seamless. When the agent handed me the new, crisp title with only my name, Ethan Stone, on it I knew the first act of this drama was finally over. Connor immediately came over, rubbing his hands together, his face plastered with a sycophantic grin. Ethan, my man. So, about that other contract. Of course, I said, handing the new title to Ms. Hayes. Ms. Hayes will contact you within 3 days to handle the addition of your name to the title. Yes, great. You're a man of your word, Ethan. A real gentleman. Connor was ecstatic. I looked at his fawning expression and sneered internally. A gentleman? When dealing with vermin like you, I have no interest in being a gentleman. After leaving the office, Chloe wandered off like a ghost. Connor didn't even glance at her, just hopped into his car, humming a cheerful tune as he drove away. As my car passed Chloe, I slowed down. She looked up, and our eyes met. Her gaze held none of its former arrogance, only a bottomless well of regret and despair. I rolled up my window, hit the accelerator, and left her in my rearview mirror. I felt no sympathy. Those who sow the wind reap the whirlwind. She had no one to blame but herself. 3 days later, Connor arrived at Ms. Hayes' firm, right on schedule. He was beaming, his hair perfectly styled, wearing his most expensive suit. He looked like a man about to ascend to the throne. Ms. Hayes, I'm here. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, he announced, making no effort to hide his excitement. Mr. Prescott, please have a seat. Ms. Hayes, stone-faced, pushed a document toward him. These are the papers for you to sign to be added to the title. Please review them. Connor picked it up, gave it a cursory glance, and prepared to sign. After all, he'd already confirmed the important parts. One moment, Ms. Hayes said suddenly. What is it? Connor paused, pen in hand. Ms. Hayes adjusted her glasses and slid another document toward him. It was a bill. Before you sign, per Mr. Stone's instructions, I need to present you with the property's debt schedule. Debt schedule? Connor froze. What do you mean? It means, Ms. Hayes' tone was flat, but her words were a surgical blade slicing through Connor's fantasy, that this property is currently encumbered by certain debts. According to the contract you signed, you will acquire a 50% share of the property. Therefore, you must also assume 50% of its liabilities. It's a matter of corresponding rights and obligations. The color began to drain from Connor's face. Debts? What debts? I thought Ethan paid for the condo in cash. The purchase price was indeed paid in full, Ms. Hayes confirmed. However, in order to purchase the property and cover the subsequent renovations and furnishings, Mr. Stone secured loans from family, friends, and several private lending institutions. Ms. Hayes placed a thick stack of loan agreements and bank statements on the table. This includes a $400,000 personal loan from his uncle at an 8% annual interest rate, a $200,000 interest-free loan from his university mentor, Professor Miller, to be repaid within 1 year of the property title being secured, a $600,000 loan from Apex Private Capital, an 18% APR, and a $400,000 loan from another hard money lender at 22% APR. With every number Ms. Hayes read, Connor's face grew another shade paler. All loan agreements have been notarized, the bank transfers are fully traceable, and every dollar has been documented as going toward the purchase and outfitting of the Waterfront Reserve property. In total, the property is currently encumbered by $6 million in debt. According to your contract, you're responsible for 50% of that debt, which comes to $800,000. Furthermore, Ms. Hayes added, due to Ms. Miller's breach of the nominee agreement, some of these loans are now in default, which has incurred significant penalty interest. You and Mr. Stone will be expected to cover these costs jointly. Connor was completely stunned. He sat there like a statue, his mouth agape, unable to speak. $800,000. He thought he was getting half of a multi-million-dollar condo for free. Instead, he was being handed an $800,000 time bomb of debt. The condo was worth about $3. $2 million, so his half was worth $1. $6 million. Subtracting the $800,000 in debt, he was still technically up by $800,000, but that was on paper. He had to come up with $800,000 in cold, hard cash to pay off a share of the debt first. He didn't have $800,000. He didn't have a fraction of that. No, this is impossible. Connor shot to his feet, his face contorted in a furious snarl. This is a trap. It's Ethan's trap. You're all con artists. Ms. Hayes watched him coolly. Mr. Prescott, I advise you to watch your tone. All of our documentation is legal and binding. You are welcome to have your own attorney verify it. The contract you signed stated you would be gifted a 50% share of the property. It never specified a debt-free share. Those are two very different legal concepts. It is not our fault you failed to conduct your own due diligence. Connor snatched the contract and, with trembling hands, flipped to the relevant page. It was all there, black and white, clear as day. He'd been played again. This was the second gift I had prepared for him, the final trap. I wanted him to feel the exhilarating high of reaching the summit, only to be shoved off the peak into the abyss below. The whiplash was 1,000 times more painful than just telling him the truth from the start. I'm not signing. I don't accept this. Connor tore the contract to shreds, his face a mask of primal rage. You tell Ethan Stone that this isn't over. He stormed out of the law firm, a pathetic broken animal. Ms. Hayes calmly picked up the phone. Mr. Stone, the fish took the bait, and then it broke the line and ran. He tore up the contract. I was in the middle of a workout at the gym, sweat pouring down my face. Hearing the news, I grabbed a towel and wiped my brow, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Excellent. Keep the pieces. File them away. That's proof of him forfeiting his claim. Understood. One more thing, I said. Give me a copy of the security footage of his little tantrum in your office. I have a use for it. Hanging up, I looked at my reflection in the gym mirror, strong, focused, in control. Connor, did you think this was over? Did you think tearing up a piece of paper would make it all go away? You were wrong. You helped me get my property back. I can't let a favor like that go unrewarded. Your nightmare is just beginning, and I'd already found your Achilles heel. Leo's investigation had yielded some very interesting results. After graduation, Connor had used family connections to land a cushy job at a large corporation. But he was arrogant and lazy, and after 2 years of complaining about the low pay and slow promotions, he quit. He then tried his hand at angel investing and lost his family's money. His father, furious, cut him off completely. So the man at the reunion, exuding wealth and confidence, was actually a broke fraud. That explained his desperation for my condo. But that wasn't the main point. The main point was that Leo discovered Connor was currently lobbying hard for a city-sponsored grant for young entrepreneurs, the Catalyst Grant. The program was run by a deputy director at the Miami Tech Innovation Committee, and that deputy director's most trusted advisor, a key member of the grant's review panel, was my old university mentor, Professor Miller. The same Professor Miller I had claimed loaned me $200,000. Everything clicked into place. I finally understood the source of Connor's deep-seated hatred for me. He must have heard through the grapevine that I was close to Professor Miller and that my career was taking off. He was jealous, and he needed to curry favor with the professor to get his grant. So at the reunion, he tried to humiliate me by taking Chloe, and he probably thought that by putting me down, he could somehow prove his own strength to the right people. He made a fatal miscalculation. He thought I was a pushover. He had no idea he was messing with solid steel. Now it was my turn to strike back. After his meltdown at the law firm, Connor didn't just give up. He launched a full-scale smear campaign against me on every social media platform he could access. He painted me as a manipulative, dishonest, backstabbing villain. Everyone be warned about Ethan Stone. This man is a total fraud. He tricked me with a fake contract to get his condo back, then tried to saddle me with millions in fake debt. This guy has zero integrity. He even spun his contract-tearing tantrum as a heroic act of refusing to associate with evil. Brittany and his other cronies immediately amplified his message, adding their own commentary, painting me as a modern-day Machiavelli. The narrative was quickly turning against me. Even Leo called, worried. Bro, this is getting pretty bad. It could hurt your reputation. You wanted to go online and set the record straight. No need. Let him be, I told Leo, my voice calm. Let him scream it from the rooftops. The more people that hear his version, the better. I'm preparing a little gift for everyone who's been following this story. 2 days later was Professor Miller's 70th birthday celebration. It was a major event, drawing prominent figures from Miami's academic, tech, and business circles. Connor, as a former student, had of course secured an invitation. For him, this was a golden opportunity to get face time with the key players of the Catalyst grant. He was dressed to the nines, gliding through the ballroom with a champagne flute, a practiced smile plastered on his face. When he saw me arrive with Ms. Hayes, his expression soured, but he quickly composed himself, a cruel smirk touching his lips. He probably thought this was my pathetic attempt at a counterattack. Even better, he was looking for a chance to expose my true nature in front of Professor Miller. He approached me, his voice just loud enough for the surrounding guests to hear. Well, if it isn't Ethan Stone, steal a condo from your ex-girlfriend, and you still have the nerve to show your face at our mentor's party. He immediately framed me as the villain. Nearby guests turned, their curiosity piqued. Before I could speak, Ms. Hayes stepped forward. Mr. Prescott, I suggest you choose your words carefully. Slander is a serious offense. Slander? Is anything I'm saying not the truth? Connor raised his voice, emboldened by the attention. Do you dare, in front of Professor Miller and all these respected people, deny that you tricked me with a fake contract? Do you dare deny that you fabricated millions in debt to scam me? His voice grew louder, capturing the entire room's attention. The chatter died down. Professor Miller, hearing the commotion, made his way over, frowning. What's going on here? This is hardly the time or place for such behavior. Seeing the professor, Connor immediately adopted a pained, righteous expression and bowed deeply. Professor, I apologize for this disturbance, but I cannot, in good conscience, stand by and watch you be deceived by someone of such poor character. He pointed at me and began his theatrical performance, painting himself as the innocent victim. He recounted the events of the reunion, embellishing every detail to highlight my supposed treachery and faithlessness. Professor, just think about it. A man who could manipulate his own girlfriend and his old college friends like that. How dark must his heart be? He is unworthy of being called your student. I'm speaking up today because I cannot bear to see your kindness and trust be misplaced. He delivered the lines with such passion that anyone who didn't know the truth might have actually believed he was a champion of justice. Guests began to whisper, their gazes turning on me with suspicion. Brittany emerged from a corner to add her testimony. It's true, Professor Miller. A bunch of us can vouch for it. Ethan Stone is a total scumbag. He didn't just trick Connor. He completely destroyed Chloe. Chloe? The name surprised me. I hadn't expected them to drag her into this. I scanned the room, but didn't see her. Professor Miller's face grew stern. He looked at me, his voice heavy. Ethan, is what he's saying true? I met his gaze and the stares of everyone else in the room, and replied calmly. Truth isn't determined by who has the loudest voice. I turned to Connor with a placid smile. You claim I fabricated debts. You claim I tricked you. Where's your proof? Show us. Connor was taken aback. He stammered, then puffed out his chest. I tore up that fraudulent contract. You're trying to leave me with no evidence. You tore it up? I laughed. Fortunately for us, my law firm has excellent security cameras. Ms. Hayes. Ms. Hayes nodded, took out a tablet, and played a video. It was the security footage from her office. The video clearly showed Connor hysterically screaming, I'm not signing. I don't accept this. Before he himself ripped the contract, the very evidence of my supposed crime, to shreds. The audio was crystal clear, the video high definition. The truth was undeniable. He had willingly forfeited his claim and was now twisting the story to blame me. Connor's face went purple. That's edited. You doctored it, he sputtered, grasping at straws. We can have it professionally authenticated, if you like, I said airily. But let's not get sidetracked. Let's talk about something more interesting. I paused, my eyes sweeping across the room before landing on Connor's panicked face. You said I fabricated $6 million in debt. One of those debts, you claimed, was a $200,000 loan from my mentor, Professor Miller. Correct. That's right. Connor, thinking he'd found a weak spot, shouted. You used the professor's good name and his trust in you to forge evidence. I smiled. Then I did something no one expected. I turned to Professor Miller and gave him a deep, respectful bow. Professor, I am so sorry. I never intended to bring this up here. But certain people, for their own selfish gain, have started to drag your name through the mud. They are attempting to tarnish the bond between you and my father. And that, I cannot tolerate. My father? The words sent a ripple through the room. Connor's face was a mask of confusion. Only Professor Miller reacted differently. He flinched, as if struck, and his weary eyes instantly filled with emotion and a hint of guilt. I straightened up and looked at a bewildered Connor. I spoke each word with the weight of years behind them. Connor, you have no idea what that $200,000 you called a fake loan really is. It wasn't a loan. It was my inheritance from my father, Ethan Stone Sr. It was his share of the profits from the Helios chip project he co-developed with Professor Miller years ago. What? Ethan Stone Sr.? The brilliant engineer who died so young. I remember now. The Helios project. That was Professor Miller and Stone's breakthrough. But right after they announced its success, we heard that Stone had passed away in an accident. So Ethan is his son? No wonder he's so accomplished at such a young age. Among the guests, the older ones who knew the history began to murmur. Connor was frozen solid. He had clearly heard of Ethan Stone Sr., but he could never have connected that legendary figure with the quiet guy from his college class. Professor Miller was now openly weeping. He came forward and grabbed my arm, his hand trembling. Ethan, my boy, why did you have to carry this all by yourself? I gave my mentor a reassuring smile, then turned back to face Connor, the pathetic clown who had forced me to reopen this old wound. After my father died, Professor Miller tried to give me that money for years. I refused. I explained. I knew that while the Helios project was a technical success, it needed a massive amount of capital to bring it to market. I told the professor to consider that money my father's final investment in their dream. I didn't want the money. I wanted a chance to finish what my father started. So for the past several years, I've worked under Professor Miller, starting from the very bottom. I worked day and night. I poured everything I had into learning, into developing, into making the Helios chip a reality. My success, my career, it wasn't built on scams or tricks. It was built one line of code at a time, one sleepless night after another. It was earned by honoring my father's legacy. As for that condo, I bought it with the first payout from the Helios project's initial licensing deal. Every single cent was clean. I put it in the name of the woman I loved, thinking it was the start of our future. To make the full down payment, I had to borrow from my uncle and from Professor Miller. Those debts you claim I fabricated weren't a tool to trap you. They were the very real burdens I took on to build a home. My voice wasn't loud, but it landed like a hammer blow in the silent room. The truth was out. Every lie, every smear, every accusation now looked like a pathetic joke. I wasn't a villain. I was a son who had quietly shouldered his father's legacy. I wasn't a backstabber. I was the one who had been betrayed. The room was utterly still. All eyes were on Connor, but the looks were no longer curious. They were filled with contempt, with disgust, with utter revulsion. They were looking at a bottom-feeding parasite who, for his own petty gain, had tried to slander not only a hero's son, but the memory of the hero himself. Connor's face wasn't just pale. It was the color of ash, the color of a world ending. He wanted to run, but his legs were lead. He wanted to speak, but his throat was choked with dust. He was finished, socially and professionally annihilated in this city. The Catalyst Grant? He wouldn't be able to find a janitor job in Miami after this. No, it wasn't like that. He finally managed to choke out, his voice barely a whisper. It was Chloe. Chloe told me. She said you were crooked, that you must have done something shady to get rich. She's the one who pushed me to do this. Blaming someone else, even at the very end. Pathetic. Enough. Professor Miller's voice boomed with unrestrained fury. He pointed a shaking finger at Connor. How could I have ever taught a student so shameless, so devoid of honor? You not only slandered your classmate, you tried to defile the memory of your senior. You, get out. I have no such student. Security, the professor yelled toward the door. Get this person out of my sight. I never want to see him again. 2 security guards quickly entered, grabbed the now limp form of Connor, and dragged him out of the ballroom like a sack of garbage. Brittany and his other sycophants had long since melted into the corners of the room, terrified. Seeing their leader fall, they now looked desperate to become invisible. The drama was over, ending in the most decisive and public way imaginable. After the party, I declined Professor Miller's offer to stay for a private dinner and left alone. I didn't go back to the empty condo. I drove to the coast. I took off my shoes and walked onto the cool sand, letting the tide wash over my bare feet again and again. The sea breeze blew away the noise and tension of the ballroom, clearing the last of the bitterness from my soul. The thrill of revenge wasn't as potent as I'd imagined. What I felt instead was a profound sense of peace. The 3-year nightmare was finally over. My phone rang. It was Leo. Dude, unbelievable. I just saw the alumni chat. It's on fire. Someone posted a video from the party. Everyone knows the truth now. Connor is completely toxic. Brittany and those other losers are now tearing him to shreds in the chat, trying to distance themselves from him. It's beautiful. So damn satisfying. Leo yelled into the phone. I smiled. I expected as much. Oh, one more thing. Leo's tone suddenly grew hesitant. Chloe. She posted a super long apology in the chat, crying, saying she knows she was wrong, that she was blinded by greed and manipulated by Connor. She said she wants to see you, to beg for your forgiveness. Forgiveness? I stared out at the horizon, where the sea met the sky, my gaze calm and distant. Some mistakes in this world can be forgiven. Betrayal is not one of them. Ignore her, I said flatly. Knew you'd say that. Leo laughed. Don't worry, man. We've all got your back. No one's falling for her act. I hung up, and the world was quiet again. I'm no saint. I can't just forgive and forget. Connor and Chloe had to pay the price for their actions. And that price was far more than just losing their reputations. A few days later, Ms. Hayes delivered the final report. Mr. Stone, we have officially filed a lawsuit against Mr. Prescott for defamation and commercial disparagement. We've submitted a mountain of evidence, including his social media posts, the surveillance video from my office, the complete footage from the birthday party, and sworn statements from multiple witnesses. Additionally, the Catalyst Grant Office provided a statement confirming that Mr. Prescott repeatedly and maliciously maligned you, a competing applicant, in an attempt to gain an unfair advantage. As it stands, our case is airtight. He will likely face a court order for a public apology, significant monetary damages for both reputational and economic harm, and potentially even jail time. Hearing this, I felt nothing. It was merely the logical conclusion. He had earned it. And Chloe? I asked. She's Ms. Hayes' voice was tinged with something complex. Her situation is not good. Connor has directed all of his rage at her, blaming her for his downfall. I've heard he has confronted her several times, and the encounters were ugly. She was evicted from her apartment and is apparently now living in a cheap rental in a rough part of town, unable to find work. She contacted my office repeatedly, offering to testify against Connor to confirm that he was the mastermind behind everything. She was hoping it would earn her your understanding. And you told her no? I did, Ms. Hayes confirmed. I informed her that the court requires facts, not transactions. We don't need her testimony to ensure Mr. Prescott is held accountable. As for your forgiveness, I told her it was a luxury she could not afford. Perfectly handled. I had no desire to track the downfall of a traitor. Whether she was thriving or destitute was of no consequence to me. I had simply and completely deleted her from my world. The dust had settled. The sun was shining. I stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling windows of my condo at the waterfront reserve, looking out over the city I had fought so hard to conquer. The rooms were empty, with only sunlight painting long rectangles on the polished floors. But I didn't feel lonely. I felt an incredible sense of space and freedom. I had shed a burden, torn apart a lie, and broken free from my chains. In the process, I had reclaimed my father's honor, secured my life's work, and learned who my true friends were. My phone rang. It was my company's chief technology officer. Ethan, great news. We have a signed letter of intent from the European Consortium. The Helios chip is going global. I smiled. I picked up a photo frame from the bare countertop. In it, a kind, intelligent-looking man in his 40s was smiling, his eyes so much like my own. Dad, I whispered. Did you see that? Outside, the city lights began to twinkle to life, a sprawling galaxy of homes and highways. One story was over. My life was just beginning.